Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new national party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.
Seatbelts are not as confining as a wheelchair. Drive carefully. A message from the Traffic Department of the Royal Grenada Police Force.
Grenada's economy is heading for its 7th year of consistent growth, averaging over 5%. Unemployment was reduced by 20%, while debt to GDP ratio was reduced from 108% to 63.5%. NNP committed to the economic and social development of our people. NNP delivering on the promise.
"11 men honored for heroic acts that saved the lives of passengers after minibus plunges into the sea." Details to this story and more in the National Report. With the details to the news for Wednesday, September 25th, I am Leslie Ann Johnson. 11 Grenadians were honored on Wednesday for their heroic acts that saved the lives of a number of people on board a minibus that plunged into the waters of the Carriacou on Friday. A recognition ceremony was held at police headquarters for Jeffrey Irvin, Adriel Pursu, Noel Bethel, Akim Philip, Teron Hazel, Jake Edmund, Frederick Braffett, police constables Joel Hosford, Harris Collier, Matthew Felix and Kevin Wickham, who were presented with certificates of appreciation and a Royal Grenada Police Force plaque. They were also presented with tokens of appreciation by Digicel Grenada and Sol Grenada EC Limited. 3 of the divers and 1 police officer were also further recognized by an anonymous citizen. They were commended by Acting Police Commissioner Edwin Martin for their prompt response.
Rescuing several persons from a trapped bus underwater is no easy feat. Faced with what would have appeared to be a hopeless situation, extreme panic and anxiety would have been the prevailing emotions among the trapped individuals. This no doubt would have exacerbated the rescue effort and attempts. Rescuing individuals under those circumstances is nothing short of a miraculous accomplishment, directly attributed to your quick, decisive, and selfless action. Hence today, we, the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, embrace you as our real-life heroes.
He added that the individual and collective actions of the men saved the nation from a tragedy of a much greater magnitude.
It is a reminder, too, for the licensing authority to rethink the systems that are in place and, where appropriate, recommend legislative changes with a view of enhancing public safety on our nation's roads. In any democratic society, the primary role of the police is to protect life and property. More importantly, your selfless acts, as demonstrated on September 20th, illustrates that you are acutely aware of the need to be your brother's keeper.
CEO of Digicel Grenada, Shrivon Redhead, presented the men with a package that included a cellular phone and other items. She used the opportunity to remind them that it's not the gift that is important, but the selfless act performed that resulted in so many lives being saved.
You're your brother's keeper. And it's funny to see the reaction of persons when they're like, oh my God, they were so selfless. There was no hesitation. Like, we counted the seconds down when we looked at the video. It was a matter of 3 seconds, somebody was already in the water. And I would like to think this is what true Grenadian represents. This is what we should be representing across the nation in terms of helping each other. And I was so pleased to see that we were selfless and we were courageous and we were heroic, and we did collaborate, not just civilian to the left and officers to the right, but we worked together.
The men also received a monetary reward from Sol EC Limited. The presentation was made by manager Colin Francis. He said their selfless act will be on the minds of every Grenadian for a very long time.
You did not do it to be honored. You did not do it knowing what's coming next. You did it because it was your first human instinct. And I hope your courageous and brave acts is an example for many other people, not just in Grenada, but throughout the region. I trust and hope that we've taken the example that you've set, and it's sparked some measure of hope that all is not lost. Sometimes when we read the news and we think that all is lost, there's still people right in our own backyards, our own neighbors, who have what it takes to display the kind of humanity that we expect.
Prime Minister Dr. the Right Honourable Keith Mitchell and his CARICOM colleagues met on Wednesday with the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi. The India CARICOM leaders meeting, held on the fringes of the United Nations General Assembly, is intended to strengthen relations between CARICOM countries and India. There are several key announcements coming out of the meeting, with India promising substantial support for regional countries. We will bring you those details on Thursday. Grenada and its CARICOM neighbors have long had excellent bilateral relations with India, but the aim now is to improve relations at the multilateral level. This is the National Report. More news after the break.
Grenada, it's coming as the Ministry of Youth, Development, Sports, Culture and the Arts brings to you National Youth Week 2019, and it's one full week of activities, vibes and action as the nation turns their attention on the nation's youth. And it's from Saturday, October 19 till Saturday, November 2nd under the theme Embracing Opportunities, Sowing Higher. October 19th and 20th, National Community Service Weekend, island-wide. October 26th, Health Walk and Ministers Address. October 27th, Ecumenical Service and Peace Concerts. October 28th, Youth Vibe. October 29th, St. John's Youth Parliament. October 30th, Job Fair and Career Day. October 31st, Fun Nights. November 1st, Discovering Talents and Expo. And on November 2nd, it's National Youth Awards. So urging everyone to be a part of Youth Week 2019, October 19th to November 2nd.
Continuing the news, Health Minister Nicholas Steele says training is on the cards for the young Grenadians who worked with a team from the USNS Comfort to repair the oxygen plant at the General Hospital in St. George's. The plant is functioning once again after the joint teams worked to fix one compressor. While another compressor is still down, the hospital can generate oxygen at the moment. Minister Steele says it costs anywhere from $30,000 to $40,000 EC dollars per month to purchase oxygen from Trinidad if the local plant is not being utilized. The training is essential as the ministry seeks to ensure the health and well-being of patients.
Individuals have been identified to do the medical engineering side of not just the oxygen plant, but we've got numerous bits of equipment and so throughout the general hospital and healthcare facilities that we need to identify the individuals. Some of these individuals have been Amanis that have stepped up now and are performing yeoman service there. We're fortunate enough to have been working side by side with engineers, not just the U.S. engineers that have that visited last week, but the various engineers that come in to the general hospital and our healthcare facilities on the various maintenance visits and so. So yes, that is most important. Most important to have that. Those individuals have been identified, and it's just right now we need to up the game and send some away for training. While we have here who have been trained, we have two that have been trained as well, but it's a constant journey that we have to take.
Agriculture and tourism stakeholders are urged to brainstorm the best way possible to implement projects geared at improving the link between those sectors for the economic benefit of the country. We have details in this report by Karima Lewis, the Public Relations Officer in the Ministry of Agriculture.
An agritourism policy setting workshop held at the Radisson Grenada Beach Resort recently set the stage for the implementation of projects geared towards the linkage of the tourism and agriculture sectors. The workshop was fully funded by the Technical Center for Agricultural and Rural Cooperation, CTA, and this organization will further contract a consultant to write proposals for the proper implementation of the project or projects geared toward the linking of those sectors. However, before all of this is done, the policy must first be developed. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture and Lands, Mr. Elvis Moraine, implores on the stakeholders to be gatekeepers of the policy.
We all know is that if we are going to go forward with a proper policy formation and policy direction, then of course, as we say colloquially, we'll be hit and miss. And of course, we can't afford to waste resources, whether it's time, human, and of course financial in this regard. You have to ensure that this policy doesn't remain another beautiful document sitting on some shelf somewhere. All right? We have to put this to work.
The Inter-American Institute for Cooperation and Agriculture Hemispheric Agritourism Specialist Anna Harvey explains to the participants why it is so important to come up with a focus for project implementation in Grenada.
These proposals are to be submitted for consideration for funding in this big basket. If we don't use the money, we will lose it.
She questioned the focus that Grenada will be taking in the linking of agriculture to tourism.
What is Grenada going to focus on? It could be one big project with 3 modules, it could be 3 projects, but what is Grenada going to focus on in linking agriculture with tourism? Is it farm tourism? Is it culinary? Is it heritage? Is it wellness? Is it the policy itself? And how are you going to do that? Now, Steve is going to be working on preparing that proposal with a key number of stakeholders here in the room so that you write a good proposal for Grenada and it lands on the ground.
For the Ministry of Agriculture, I am Karima Lewis.
And that's the National Report. I'm Leslie Ann Johnson.
Coming, the new family of EC polymer notes.
What is different about these notes?
The feel.
Polymer notes are made from a thin plastic film which makes the notes feel smoother than the paper notes.
The orientation.
The notes have a portrait orientation. You will read the notes from top to bottom instead of left to right as you do with the paper notes.
Unique tactile feature.
The front of each note has raised bumps at the top left-hand corner. These bumps form shapes that are familiar to you.
Holographic foil strip.
This feature is on the $20, $50, and $100. When you tilt the notes, the images and colors in this section will change.
New image on the $50.
The back of the $50 bears the image of former governor of the ECCB, the late Honorable Sir K. Dwight Venner.
New signature.
All the notes bear the signature of the current governor, Timothy N.J. Antoine.
EC polymer notes. Cleaner, safer, stronger.
Hope rides on the rays of the sun here. So too does the resilience of the people. But in the battle against climate change, will hope and resilience be enough when the lives of those who contribute the least feel the brunt of its effects?
For us here in the Caribbean, climate change and its devastating impacts are our new normal.
Hope is still the strongest currency in these parts. But a devaluation of life can come if the world sells the people short. With the realities of modern times, forever no longer has the same currency it had a generation ago.
Rolling on the way through my journey, got a triple OG sitting right beside me. This old man, he played fall, he playing knick-knack on my door. Raises a white noise, light up the world. Here we go, and I follow the sun, 'cause it's bright on the other side of my window.
In Grenada, like in many places in the Caribbean, there are continuing concerns about rising temperatures and the increasing frequency of storms.
In growing up as a young girl on the Carriacou, the changes, I always tell them the major change started with Hurricane Janet, September. September is a very terrible month for Grenada with hurricanes. Price of progress is always very high. And to me, the whole environmental problem in the Caribbean and in particular in Grenada come with the price of progress.
The country was devastated, almost complete devastation. In some villages, first of all, every village in Dominica, every street, every cranny, every person in Dominica was impacted by the hurricane.
I know myself from since this is why growing up, come here, twice come and enjoy yourself at the beach, and bathe and eat and drink and enjoy yourself and have fun. The river never is so much with the sea, but I know the water get rough. The climate got be changing.
People here have created their own way of life, overcoming great challenges over the centuries. They are at one with nature, and nature is at one with them.
There are farmers who have irrigation systems. There are farmers who are close to rivers, but there are also farmers who depend solely on rainwater, our rainwater harvesting to grow their plants. And I can tell you over the last year or so, and a lot of farmers have not been able to reach their targets in terms of production.
They followed the sun and the moon and the stars to maintain their livelihoods. Their culture has evolved dependent on the environment, their lives intertwined with its well-being.
We have no choice as a region but to pursue climate-smart development.
Building the region's resilience to climate change, natural hazards, and environmental changes is not only a necessary and urgent development imperative, but is also a fundamental requirement to ensure our basic survival as a people.
The problem with climate change is getting warmer faster in the temperate regions, and so earlier in the year, like February, March, when the birds are still here, they don't know they have to go home yet, but all the things that should be happening when they arrive are happening earlier. So their nesting sites are becoming available, their food sources, especially insects, are blooming. So by the time the birds get back to where they have to go, there's no food for them.
Follow the sun, I follow the sun.
Water fuels life here. Above as below, without adaptation, much is at stake. Maybe the lives here can be the hope and the light the world needs to make a change before it's too late.
These impacts are reversing economic growth, exacerbating poverty, and undermining the future prosperity of Caribbean countries.
This war was not started on their terms, but one through which they are determined to fight together.
But we can't do this alone. This is why we're calling for greater focus, support, and action from the international community to get us ahead of this climate crisis.
Grenada's National Sustainable Development Plan 2035 seeks to address climate adaptation and vulnerability for sustainable development.
Being on the front line in the war against climate change, Caribbean countries are pushed into action and are finding ways to overcome the challenges.
We're facing a hurricane, Hurricane Dorian, one that we've never seen in the history of Bahamas.
Good morning to you, Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. Once again, it is time for Hard Talk. My name, Sheldon Scott. Yeah? We'll be cruising with you to the 12 o'clock hour. Taking it nice and smooth on a Thursday. Yes, it's coming up on the weekend. 25 minutes after the hour of 10 o'clock. If you've got to be somewhere for 11, you're more than 45 minutes or so away. Let's say you're more than 35 minutes away. You're officially late, so you have to start speeding up a little bit if you're a little far off. Yeah? We didn't say drive fast. We just say take your time and go quickly. Yeah. Don't break the speed limit though. We say a special good morning to the folks out there in Carriacou, listening via 92.9 FM. Sister Isle FM, the staff out there at Sister Isle. Lyndon, Lisa, Mr. Fraser. All of the on-air personalities, the in-studio personalities, the front desk personalities. All of you on Sister Isle, good morning. Hope you all are having a fabulous day. Being on one of the most blessed islands ever created. And then we say a special good morning to those of you in Petit Martinique as well. Yeah, folks, yesterday they had, was it yesterday? Yeah, they had the emulation ceremony for the folks out of Petit Martinique, Carriacou, and from Grenada as well. All of them who were involved in saving the lives of the individuals last week, Friday. So that took place yesterday. Yeah, yesterday morning up at the police headquarters. Yeah, that was a wonderful one. Saying a special good morning to all of the listeners via 97.5 CitysoundFM, CRFM 89.5, We Noise Radio up there in Brooklyn. Morning to you, Wade. Who's in the WAP this morning? So you had important people in the WAP yesterday. Who's in the WAP this morning?
You know she have another, but if you're up, she right then you.
Just remember to invite them to the beautiful island of Grenada. Even if they're Grenadian, tell them, hey, time for us to make a trip home.
Undercover, this genie is mad.
Good morning to you, Marcel. I see ya. And good morning to you, Cynthia and Sonia. I'm seeing all of you on the live. Folks, remember to like and share the live.
Genie don't stay with ya. That genie is playing with ya. That genie go lay with ya. Oh my gosh, girl, you really do easy. The way you treat me, man, like you know you don't need it. Already have a man, say she telling us.
And we're having an open line this morning, 440-7377, 347-329, 3101 for those of you outside of Grenada.
Why not tell him leave you and go on?
Yes, indeed. Kathleen, good morning. Williams, good morning to you. It's a beautiful Thursday on the Isle of Spice. You consider some of the rain you had over the weekend and so, and then the sun just comes out in all its glory once again. Not as hot as it was for the past couple of weeks. Yeah, it go down a few degrees. It's not as hot. Yeah, it's hot, but it's not as hot. Yeah, and you're coming down to the Christmas time. You know, the place kind of cools down as you're heading into Christmas. Especially at night, the temperature tends to drop. Good morning to you, Olive. And good morning to the staff at Paddy's Enterprise out there in Carriacou. Wonderful folks out there. Always tuned in to Hard Talk. Yeah, you all had to send me that list and names again, you know. Yeah, you all had to send me that list of names again. Okay, Carol? Make sure and send it, yeah.
Always giving you some excuse, but he still wants you to believe and know it.
Let's see what's in the inbox this morning.
When he's a husband and a wife, think you'll put your mouth. That is a genie stuck in a.
The main thing I'm seeing in the inbox this morning, I'm seeing the government and trade unions associations. They have begun wage negotiations for the current negotiating cycle. So it says here, wage negotiations for public service employees in Grenada for the next negotiating cycle are currently underway. The government's negotiation team has held separate meetings with the joint negotiating team from the Grenada Technical and Allied Workers Union, that's TAU, the Public Workers Union, PWU, as well as the negotiating teams from the Grenada Union of Teachers and the Grenada Manual, Maritime and Intellectual Workers Union, and the Bank and General Workers Union. Now, all of these unions, they have workers that are within the government service. In the first round of negotiations with the joint negotiating team on September 12, 2019, the GNT, or Government Negotiating Team, provided a response to the proposal submitted jointly by the two unions, and the Government Negotiation Team also put forward government's offer for this negotiating cycle. So the team has met with the individual unions and put forward government's offer. At its meeting with the negotiating team from the GUT, the government's team made a formal offer to the union. The GUT, however, has indicated that it would need some time to consult with its membership before submitting a proposal. Right? So they want to meet with a membership. Both meetings have been described as cordial, with all parties affirming their commitment to conducting negotiations in good faith. Following similar meetings with the GMMIWU and the Bank and General Workers Union, the negotiating teams from these unions have indicated that they will discuss government's proposals with their membership and return to the bargaining table on September 27th, 2019. That's tomorrow. So they will be back on the table tomorrow. As it prepares for further engagement with the public sector, trade unions, associations, the government of Grenada has reiterated that fiscal prudence remains a priority, and as such, it is paramount that the public sector wage bill be fiscally affordable and sustainable. In keeping with this, Cabinet has approved two critical policy documents that contextualizes wage negotiations for this period: the Compensation Management Policy Framework and the Wage Negotiation Policy Guidelines 2020 to 2022. These documents speak to government's intention to address the compensation management architecture of the public service, including the institutionalization of well-defined procedures for managing the wage negotiation process. The adoption of these policy frameworks are indicative of government's commitment to ensuring that the implementation of critical structural reforms can be effectively monitored and managed as part of the ongoing public service transformation process. Yes, indeed, folks. So, government is negotiating with the trade unions in relation to salaries for this cycle. So, you know, public sector workers, they had their salary increases over, I think, 3 salary increases over the past 3 years. Yeah, an individual increase over the past 3 years, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah. And now they're negotiating for further salary increases, etc., etc. Good morning to you, Vic and Cislin. So negotiations continue, and both the bank and general workers and the GMMIWU, they will be on the bargaining table tomorrow. So probably early next week we'll be hearing some more information. The GUT, before it goes back to government to confirm or to ask for any changes to what government has offered, so they're going to be holding a meeting with their membership. So I expect the GUT to be calling out their membership soon for a meeting. Which is only fair.
Always giving you some excuse, but he still wants you to deliver. No way, he's stuck in it. He wants you rubbish.
So far, so good.
When he's a husband and a wife together.
But government has also decided that, you see, you can't just arbitrarily and helter-skelter increase salaries. So they have put together two policy documents that they have brought through cabinet. And those are the policy framework and wage negotiation policy guidelines 2020 to 2022 and the compensation management policy framework and the wage negotiation policy guidelines. So it's a compensation management policy framework, that's one, and the wage negotiation policy guidelines, that's the second one. I think I need to get my hands on those.
If she says she don't take her hand.
Yeah, it'd be very telling, as in telling you exactly what to do.
If he say he have somebody, but he still want to touch your, tell him not as long as he have the next one, girl.
Yeah, I'm looking to see what else is in the inbox.
That is a genie stuck in a bottle of her. You know she.
Of course, we know course 44 of the Royal Grenada Police Force is underway.
But you have a genie stuck in a bottle. Keep you on that cover.
I think it's around 60. Yeah, 60 individuals are now into training to become full-fledged members of the Royal Grenada Police Force. They are now recruits. So recruit course number 44 is underway. Learning different aspects of policing. Never know, the next, a future commissioner can be in that batch of trainees that has gone in there right now. In fact, I think one or two of the individuals that are there are people that were attached in different capacities to the Royal Grenada Police Force. One or two who may have been wardens for a little while, others who may have been in different capacities there, and are now going to do their full training to become full-fledged members of the RGPF, yeah?
You have a genie stuck in a bottle of her. You know she have another. But if you're a she, you can get she all. You have a genie.
Several activities coming up. Yeah, the convention of the new National Party. It's coming. Yeah, you'll be getting more information about date and location, etc. We'll be giving you that information pretty soon.
That genie
see if I can get the Honorable Roland Bowler in studio for a few minutes to speak on that in a while.
Oh my God. Oh, crave expert lover, have I not done? Oh, yeah, yeah.
We know Prime Minister Dr. The Right Honorable Keith Mitchell is out to the United Nations.
See all eyes on you, girl from afar.
In fact, he's just had a meeting with Prime Minister Modi. That's the Indian Prime Minister.
Girl, you are queen.
Yeah, the Prime Minister of one of the smallest countries, Grenada. Just had a meeting with the Prime Minister of a country with over 1 billion people. So there's been a Caribbean-India meeting. And of course, you know the historical ties between Grenada and India. Many Grenadians of Indo descent coming to Grenada in the 1800s. After the abolition of slavery. In fact, recently I saw a listing of some of the ships that were coming into Grenada and the numbers of people that they brought over and so. So there is a historical connection between Grenada and India. So they're looking at various economic issues and so. Be hearing a little later today some of the outcomes of that meeting between the CARICOM countries and India. A bilateral, usually at the United Nations, because you have all the world leaders there. You have these what they call bilateral meetings that take place on the sidelines. So you get to meet different world leaders and so on. You can negotiate on different issues, etc., etc. So Prime Minister and his team, they are out there working and doing their best for the people of Grenada.
Truly one of a kind, 'cause you've been working so hard. Take a little time off, yeah. So let we hit the club now. Take a shot and free up. Now let your head down, girl. Show off your beauty. We gonna turn this now.
Also, folks, remember the World Championships. They're gonna be starting tomorrow in Doha, Qatar. Team Grenada will be in action starting on Tuesday next week. Karani James, Braylon Taplin in the 400 meter. They'll be starting with the the heats will be taking place next week, Tuesday. Gonna give you the full schedule in a while.
We hit the flap now, shut and free up. Now let your head down, girl, show off your beauty. We gonna turn tonight into a movie.
Yes, so our own Karani James and Braylon Taplin, they'll be in action on Tuesday, God's willing. They should be in action around 9:35 in the morning, Grenada time. And they'll be in the heats of the men's 400 meter at the International Athletic Federation World Athletics Championships. It's taking place in Doha, Qatar. So they're in the Middle East right now. The semi-finals are scheduled for next week, Wednesday. They're going to be taking place at approximately 1:35. So remember, the times I'm giving you are when the heats, the events itself starts. So it doesn't mean that Karani necessarily will be running at exactly 9:35. If he's in the first heat, yes. If himself or Braylon they're in the first heat, yes, they'll be running at 9:35. If not, it means they'll be running anytime between roughly 9:35 and 10 o'clock, because those heats run off pretty quickly. Sometimes they have 4 or 5 heats or whatever, and they run off pretty quickly. So from 9:35, get yourself, I don't know, I haven't heard any indication that any of the local media houses are going to be broadcasting. What I will endeavor to do is find a link online and post it to our Facebook page so you will be able to view what is taking place, yeah? I'll attempt to do that, whether it's over your device or whether on your computer and so on. Yeah, I'll get the link and I'll post it to our Facebook page, HARDTALK Grenada Live. I'll post it there so you will be able to see, even if none of the media houses locally are bringing it, you'll be able to see what is taking place. Yeah, nice, good. So I'm going to get that and put it up. So Karani, he'll be in action next week, Tuesday, both himself and Braylon, from 9:35 in the heats of the men's 400 meter. Next week, Wednesday, they'll be competing in the semi-final. That's once they qualify from the heats to get into the semi-finals. The semi-finals run off at 1:35. And then the final takes place next week, Friday. So you've got to be in front of your television at 3:20 next week, Friday. Don't set any meetings for next week, Friday.
You shine bright like a star. See all eyes on you.
Next week, Friday, is not for no meeting and all kind of thing at 3:20. Nobody call me phone at that time, because I'll be looking at the finals of the World Athletic Championships 400 meter, and I'm absolutely positive our own Karani James and Braylon Taplin will be in the final.
Good, but your body now. Oh, I like you, mama, lady. You're so special.
And you know, once what we expect happens, you know what has happened in St. John, eh? So I'll know where to go.
Yeah, can't you see? You're sweeter than the honey from.
Then we have Lyndon Victor,
You've been working so hard.
the Commonwealth Games.
So let we hit the fat now. Take a shot.
Bronze medalist, brother of the other Commonwealth Games bronze medalist in the decathlon. The Team Grenada. Yeah, Kurt is not at the championships, but his brother Lyndon is. And he'll be in action starting on Wednesday. So he'll be in the 100 meter. And remember, with the decathlon, they have groups of guys that are competing. So you have to really stick and watch the entire thing to find your athlete when they're throwing or running or jumping and so on. So next week, Wednesday, Lyndon Victor in the 100 meter, that will be taking place at 9:35 a.m. next week, Wednesday. The long jump, that will start at 10:30 next week, Wednesday. Also next week, Wednesday, the shot put at 11:50 and the high jump at 40 minutes after 1. And the final event next week, Wednesday, in decathlon will be the 400 meter, and that takes place at 4:15. I think we have a caller online. Good morning.
Mr. Scott, good morning, sir.
Morning.
How you doing, man?
Hey, brother Ian.
How things, man?
A day, bro, a day.
Very well, very well.
Nice, man. Good to hear your voice, man.
Yes, it's been a while.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, just saying good morning to everyone. It's not too hard talk, and so hope that you have a good day, man.
Yeah, man. How's the leg, man?
Well, it's coming on nicely, man.
Yeah, you cast up the leg, man.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah, all Ian go and break his foot, you know. Ian, you know. Ian had to spend his birthday, the foot crack up, you know.
Yeah, understand? But they cast it.
It in cast, isn't it?
Yeah, it come out yesterday.
It came out yesterday?
Yes.
Okay.
It wasn't really broken. It's a bone in the knee that shot a shift, from afar.
Ooh, yeah, that's painful.
Very much so, man. What?
Yeah. Water coming out your eye with that.
You understand? But, I was saying to some friends of mine the other day, boy, they say, Sheldon bad, but I could never believe bad like that. If he bad like that, well, I know. If he bad like that, I respect all ladies from now.
You had to respect them from ever since.
I always respect them. But if it pain is as bad as what I got a couple of weeks ago, I tell you, boy, I respect all of them.
Nah, believe me. Where you get it, it's just a taste of what they does go through.
But you feel?
I'm telling you.
If you know I go through it, boy.
They say when a lady is giving birth, it's like breaking every bone in her body, you know.
I know.
And you only talking about one.
I know. Man?
Yeah, everything is going okay, man. Where you find on the political scene, man? How you find things going? I find our opponents and them looking confused, man.
Very much so. It doesn't seem what today is. Today Thursday. I don't think sure today is Thursday. But that's the way they're behaving. That's the way they're behaving. You know, I mean, if I am in a position, my brother, in a position, I would do everything to see how I could help to build this country. And so when election time come, I can say to people, look, I was involved in this, or I do that, I help this, I did that. But what are they doing now? That's my point. To me, they're not doing nothing. I was saying to some friends the other day, you could remember when Dr. Mitchell was in opposition. When he go to Parliament, he would support some things of the government. When time to criticize, he will. You know, but when the government does something good, he will say, well, yes, they have done this and we are not applaud the government. But I have never seen an opposing party opposing every single thing the government have done.
Well, you see, the thing is this, Ian, both myself and yourself, we did hard talk for a number of years under the NDC administration. And we made a point of if they did something good, to praise it.
Yep.
We praised that. We weren't doing a program and just attacking NDC. When they do stupidness, we say they do stupidness.
Exactly.
And they didn't expect us to hush and say, well, they don't do stupidness. They did a lot of stupidness.
Yes.
Yeah, so we said it.
I could recall the NDC was in opposition. When we did everything, call on people to assist in Princess Alice Hospital. We asked people to bring in maps, bring in whatever they can to the Princess Alice Hospital to assist.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have to do that, but that's patriotic. We did that we sorry need. You know, but today there are those who follow rainfall and somewhere waiting in the hospital. Oh, government this and government that. What are we doing to help? That's my concern.
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing to help? Absolutely nothing. We was in government. And if you was in government, you're doing a program. And we come in Grenadians to help you whatever way they can so that the healthcare system could be, and talking about the healthcare system, could you compare the healthcare system now? Between 2008 and 2013 and now, no comparison. In everything you do, there is flaws. There is mistake in everything. When you compare the healthcare system now, it is way above between 2000 and 2013.
Mm-hmm. But we pointed out during that period of time, because we had photos of it, we saw it, of the tubes, the different tubes that they use for different procedures, hung up at the back of the hospital drying.
Yep.
Hung up to the back of the hospital drying. And we had to keep calling on the government at that time. And when we called and the government did nothing. What did we do? We held a march in relation to it.
Yep.
And then at the end of the march, brought different stuff up to the general hospital. We didn't just talk, we acted. So you knew there was a problem when it came to food stuff and so being provided, we brought that up. Some basic medication that we could have sourced, we brought that up. And we brought it up to the general hospital. So it wasn't a case of just we attack. But we were proactive. I mean, we're not giving advice to them, because according to a certain man, you can't give them advice that doesn't take advice.
But let me tell you something. When we did the program, the amount of advice we gave them for that, even the ticket, And one time we say, boy, next time we come back and beat you yourself. Because they want to advice he gave them. If they take it, maybe they would have a same problem. But they choose not to take it.
But I nothing, so we could give them advice now because they wouldn't take it.
They won't take it. Yeah, that's right. Anyway, bro, I just want to make allow me to make two announcements, please.
Go right ahead.
One, the people of the housing scheme instead of Dunfermline, the MP or Kate Louis should be doing what we call a street light meeting. We are doing a street light meeting, so tonight would be in Dunfermline. That is in the housing scheme from 7 p.m. So you want to ask all the people within the housing scheme and the surrounding to come out and, it's an opportunity. You have to ask questions, make suggestions, and so in the way forward for the constituency and extension the country. So we urge people to come out there and to take part in that. And also tomorrow, please, going to be at Moya Bridge, that's where I'm close to Clean Shop. So we ask all the persons within the area of Moya so to come out. That's tomorrow evening at 7 in that street light meeting. Interact with your MP, man. Come and talk to her, ask questions.
Okay.
So
that's wonderful. Before you run out, bro, I saw something online, and I don't just take things when I see it. Is that issue at a bridge in La Poterie?
A bridge in La Poterie?
Yeah.
I haven't seen that as yet.
I saw something on. I'll find it back and send it to you.
Yes.
I know to find you online. I'll find it and send it to you when I'm done with the program.
And while we're on that again, in La Poterie, Scott, I really want to applaud the MP, but there is that beach called Artist Beach in La Poterie. It is a beach that has the potential just like Bathway or any other beach. She's presently doing a toilet, bathroom, and toilet facility in that area, and I'm telling you, that's a really, really plus for that area. Over the years, people go to the Bathway, go there, and, after they come out to the seawater, they will to rinse off, or if you want to use a washroom, there is no way. But, the minister, she met with the people in the area, and they have decided, listen, that's the best thing for us, and of course, and at present, that toilet, bathroom, and toilet facilities is presently in construction at Artist Beach in La Poterie. Also, they play the field in La Poterie, man, taking shape nicely, man, looking real nice.
All right,
nice,
man.
Those who yet to do it, have a look at it, man.
So things happening.
Next thing, quick, back up in Poterie, man.
Well, you know the next thing going to happen after that. After you finish it, the lights.
The lights,
yeah.
Definitely. That's in the making.
The lights have to take place there, man, because Poterie, that would be a wonderful thing for Poterie.
It will be. So we're hoping that in January, because the Tivoli School sports, well, of course, there were no sports last year, the previous year they went to Hermitage, and I don't know Hermitage or Pons, Hermitage I think it was. So hopefully in January, definitely the Tivoli Arts School sports will be held in La Poterie. And the cricket season, of course, there will be cricket in La Poterie, I'm sure. Come next year, please, God.
All right, great.
All right, so have a good day, bro.
All right, same to you.
All right, good time. Mommy Judge, good morning.
Yeah, when you could walk, you had to come down like you make a pass.
Yes, we'll do that.
All right, bro.
All right, good. Miss Jacob, good morning, too. Have a good everybody.
All right.
Nice, good.
Folks, and I've been joined in studio by Ms. Duncan. Good morning, Ms. Duncan.
Good morning, Sheldon, and good morning, of course, to all of our listening audience and those of you joining us live on Facebook. Good morning to everybody. Sorry I couldn't be here with you yesterday. I think I was coming in with a cold or something,
I coming down with the cold still myself.
I don't want it. I do not want it. So
I go in and hit the sea. I go and take a sea bath.
Yeah, so I took a little bit of rest yesterday. But of course, I'm feeling better today. And I'm here to join you, of course, in the conversation. And I walked in, of course, on a good conversation because there's a lot of things happening, and it's good when our constituents and the people in the country can call and speak about the good things that are happening, because we hear a lot about the bad, and it's not much bad, but because we emphasize so much on the bad, it seems as though there's so much bad happening. But it's good when people can call and share the good things that are actually happening within their constituency, and of course we should promote more of that. We want more of that. So it's great. And I heard the gentleman talking about the healthcare system, and I mean, after having several interviews and several conversations with persons involved with the NHI, I do believe that persons need to educate themselves a lot more on the NHI, because I do believe that's the way to go. It is the way to go. If we want the quality of healthcare that we are demanding, we have to understand that it comes at a price, right? And if the government or any entity is proposing a way in which we can facilitate the type of healthcare that we desire, the type of healthcare that we need in our society, then we should listen and we should share our opinions and our views, and I mean, it's time we come from a place where we continuously bash the healthcare system, but yet we don't want to get involved in what may potentially change it for the better. You know, so I definitely want to encourage people to find out more about the NHI, but also to understand that healthcare cannot be free and it cannot be cheap.
Yes, indeed. And folks, remember the phone lines are open, 440-7377 and 347-329-3101. Both of those are the numbers you can call to get in. All right, nice, beautiful. And I was speaking as well as some the political scene in Grenada right now. We see the National Democratic Congress trying their very best to find a leader. Right now is a case of find a leader, find a leader, find a leader. So they're trying their very best to find a leader. But the thing is this, no matter who you put as a leader, if your organization is a waste of time, it's a waste of time. You're just the leader of a waste of time organization.
Yeah, but you see, they've fashioned their party and they've fashioned their people in such a way that all they do is propaganda. They're very big on propaganda, very big on pointing out all of the negatives. I have not yet once heard them praise the government for something that needed to be done, that was done, something that they have rallied for, that was completed. You hear them rally about things, you hear them complain about things, and when it has actually been done or actually been completed, then you just don't hear them anymore. They move on to the next complaint, you know, and that is very sad.
We have a caller online.
Good morning, caller.
Oh, yes, good morning to you.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to your co-host.
Good morning.
No, I listened to your recent discussion on the NHI. I don't know if you're the person whom I spoke to yesterday at the NHI desk. But I don't think we are against the NHI. I'm not against the NHI. Like I say, just as the NIS. It's the preparation before that. It's all about preparing our people preparing the groundwork so that people can contribute without complaint and without stress and strain to the program. It could be a good program, but I'm saying we have to look at our numbers, the population size. We have to look at cost, because we're not an economy of scale. And in the distance, if we cannot come up with the required sum to administer the care, which will be very expensive because we have a problem now right now. That is my concern. Would we be able to take care of the numbers 10, 20, 25 years from today or from the inception of the scheme if it's not properly prepared on a financial level? So my thing is that people, I think, don't have the what you call the earning requirement to contribute to a scheme that will be expensive. And so that is my main concern. Are we really preparing people for that? You know, is the economy at a point where it could assist people to earn, to be able to contribute to the scheme, so that the scheme on a long-term basis can survive, other than we have to go and look for loans and we have to go and look for subvention for other countries? Would that be sustained? And that is my main concern. It's not I'm against, and some not against, but are we preparing the society right now so that when we contribute, we will be adequately served? And that is my main concern, because I'm seeing certain things in the distance. I don't want to be a prophet of gloom and doom, but I'm seeing certain things in the distance that will affect the scheme and affect us negatively. So my thing is prepare the foundation for the population, and then we might be in a position to institute those things. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Have a great day.
All right, thank you. What I think the caller is getting at there is that for the services and so that are going to be offered under the National Health Insurance, that the cost of those services over a period of time, that it may not be sustainable. But what I think the caller also has to remember is that a model, I believe, similar to what is taking place with the national insurance is what is going to be used to fund it. In other words, if you start it with, let's say you start with $10 million in it, you're not necessarily going to just put $10 million and then go looking for another $10 million to put into it.
Yeah.
There has to be management of that $10 million that it brings money back in.
Absolutely.
So it's like the National Insurance Scheme, as it is right now, NIS. We all pay our monies into NIS.
Correct.
NIS doesn't just give us back our money. If that was so, the NIS would go bust.
Of course.
Because it would just be giving you back. So you're putting in, and this is the thing, remember, you're putting in a percentage of your salary right now, and it's going to change in January. For some reason, I don't know. I'm not with it this morning. The percentage is missing me. But you're putting in a percentage right now.
Right. It's going to be 11% in January. So it's 9% now.
Right. So you're going to be putting that in to the NIS right now. And that's between the employee contribution and employer contribution.
Right.
Right. But when you retire and you have to be paid, you're not going to be paid 11% of your salary. You're going to be paid way more than that.
Right.
So a person might find that, look, I'm paying $100 or $200 into the NIS right now, but they're getting a couple $100 a month when the time comes to pay them back. So your money, that $100 that you put into the national insurance, that has to be grown. They have to plant it, make it grow until you have grandchildren and all.
Of course.
So you have to grow that, which is why it's always an unfortunate statement from individuals who know better. Because I heard the other day, I think I heard Jimmy Bristol making that statement and others. It's unfortunate when people make the statement about government going and take people money in NIS. That is not the case. What happens is that the NIS has that money sitting there. If it's just a case of take that money and give it back to the people who put it inside there, you will get next to nothing on a monthly basis, because remember, it's 100 you're putting in, but it's not 100 you expect to get when you're retiring.
Absolutely.
When you have, even when you have maternity and you get your one-off payment, it's much more than what you put in on a monthly basis that you get as your maternity benefit, according to your salary, that is. Much more than what you get. So the NIS has to take, if it's a $10 million that's inside there, it has to take that $10 million and make 40.
Yeah.
Then it has to take that 40 and make 80. Then it has to take that 80 and make 160. And it has to continue doing that in order to survive. So the money can't just sit there. You have to put it into things where you gain proper interest, which is why every now and again they float things on the market. And so within the region, like government might say, look, we have treasury bills, we have bonds and so on. Not only the government of Grenada, the government of St. Vincent, the government of Barbados, might even be the government of Trinidad and Tobago. Different countries do it, mainly within the Eastern Caribbean, and so they do it.
Yeah.
And the NIS from Grenada would buy into some of that, because it means now you're projecting, you're looking for 20 years down the road, 25 years down the road, because you know you're going to collect interest on that. So you buy these bonds and so on, you get your interest payments coming in, and outside of your interest payments, when it matures, you get much more than you put in the beginning. So you're securing now, you're not looking just at the people who are in the NIS right now and receiving monies right now. You're looking at the people 10, 15, 20 years down the road who also have to collect. Yeah? Who also have to collect. Right? That. Okay, will do. Are you coming and talk about it too? No, man, you have to come and talk about it.
Yes, I believe so.
Minister Bola, come a minute, please. Come a minute, please.
Yes.
No, you ain't getting out here. You have to pull a chair, Minister. Come on. You're wrong. Good morning to you. I still say the Honorable Roland Bola, because I'm still an honorable gentleman.
And how are you, sir? Good morning. And I was there taking on...
This one here, you're good day.
Yeah. It was just taking on the info from inside.
Yeah. So, and the new National Party convention coming up.
Soon.
We doesn't not afraid to have convention.
Absolutely.
We doesn't have to wait 2 years and all kind of thing.
But we knew the date for our convention since the beginning of the year. I mean, because in fact, I was just corrected since the end of last year, because what we do is a year planner.
But some people were saying that we waiting to put we convention at a specific time because we afraid other people convention.
Pure nonsense. Pure nonsense if that is not an obscene word to use on radio.
Well, Sheldon, I can attest to that because Mr. Bola and I actually sat down together when the date was decided for the convention, and that was well before this year had started.
But I know this. I mean, as a member of the
You
executive,
would have had a copy.
Exactly.
We got a copy of this thing, so we knew.
And it had to be approved by the executive.
Yes.
Because I can only make the suggestion of the dates and so on. The executive would approve.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we saw that. So the convention of the New National Party, it is coming up at the MacDonald College in St. Patrick on the 27th of October.
Yes, it's the last Sunday in October, so
Nice.
we'll be there. As a matter of fact, the constituencies are far advanced in terms of their preparation. We have started already to receive from some of the constituencies the listing of the delegates that are going to be attending the convention on the behalf of the constituency. As you know, in our constitution, what is allowed is that for convention, you would have 5 representatives from the constituency executive and 2 from every polling division. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
That must be sent to central office, where we go into our database, our register as we call it, and verify that the names that has been sent to us are actually registered members of the party and that they are financially in line with their dues.
Mm-hmm.
So that we have started collecting. We are expecting in another week or so that constituencies will be sending in their reports on the activities that they would have had from since the last time we met. As you know, we would have had our General Council around the month of March, yes, thereabout. So we would have had a report then from the constituencies. And so from March until now, they're supposed to give us another report of the activities that have been taking place in their constituency.
So, but you've also had a schedule of activities for the year. Is this the last major activity for the New National Party for 2019?
Yeah, in terms of public activities.
Mm-hmm.
There are some other internal works that are being done. In fact, we are scheduled right up to the end of November with one of our exercises that must be completed by the constituencies. We normally leave the month of December, as we say, open. It is the time when constituencies will do a lot of activities on their own, at their own timing, their own dates, Christmas tree lightings here and there in different villages or polling divisions, elderly dinner, fetes, and, the staff of the constituency office, probably the constituency executive day. So we don't want to cloud it with too much national events. So up until the end of November, we are scheduled to have activities still happening.
Mm-hmm. So the convention, has a theme been put forward as yet for the convention 2019?
Yes, there is, and forgive me for that because I wasn't prepared to come on air. I just wanted to slip that little bit before you say you start an announcement. But we do have a theme.
Yeah.
We do have a theme. It is running very similar to what we did for General Council because we normally stay along the same lines. Come next year, God's willing, we survive, we'd probably have a different theme for next year. And most things are in place, the printing and everything else. I've just reminded our office manager that she needs to remind our guy who has to do the little jingle. So by next week, God's willing, the beginning of October, we'll have that come to you on the other station so they can just run it. And so
Let me ask this question, though. For the rank and file members of the New National Party out there, and they want to be a part of Convention 2019, what do they have to do?
Okay, well, everyone to check with their constituency rep or whoever the rep may have assigned the task to organize within the constituency for the convention. Generally, that would be members of the constituency executive, I hope, because buses will be available. The thing about it is that we are not going to have a massive rally after the convention.
Yeah, there's no rally.
Right. So there's the morning session which will be the business part of the convention, where you would look back at the minutes from the last convention. You would hear reports, the Treasurer's report, the General Secretary's report, giving an account of what has happened, what has transpired politically, more to do with party business and so on, whatever other reports. And then you would move into the election of officers. And all positions are up for election. In fact, I was kind of trying to do a little side bidding and thing. And asking people, you think you go, I want to go for the thing, you know?
Yeah, well, I find it's time, you know.
So I asked a young lady, I say, would you do me the pleasure of nominating me for that position? And she looked at me and she smiled. I said, well, you know, you're simply yes, you know. She said, I'll try. I said, no, man, I don't want you to try. I want you to nominate me. So tell me you're going to do it. I have somebody to second the motion already. I just want you to nominate me. I'm going up for political leader. Give me the position. And she's smiling. I say, Diane, look like you want to do it. She said, no. You see that man there? Because there's a photo. You see that man there? That's who I'm voting for. So I kind of started to get cold feet already.
Well, Mr. Buller, you know that making front page news tomorrow. That you're vying for political leadership.
That's all right. Is there anything wrong with that? The position is up. It's an open position, and any one of us can vie for it.
The constitution of the New National Party allows every post to become vacant at the convention.
Yes.
Every post. Unlike another party where when you're political leader, you have immunity for a while.
You're untouched.
Nobody can do you nothing.
Yep.
You're day and you're day. But in our political system, within the New National Party, from political leader down to floor members, every position is up for grabs on a yearly basis.
On a yearly basis.
Yes.
You are in that position for 1 year.
Yeah.
Right? And that's why we have a convention every year.
Yes.
Every single year, the New National Party has a convention because the election of officers is an integral part of the convention, and it is constitutional that you do so on an annual basis.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't talk about interim.
You know, and that's good
we don't
too,
talk about
because it shows the structure, the strength. You know, it holds everybody accountable for the position that they hold within the party, and you know, keeps the party running smoothly and keeps everybody functioning properly. So that's good. I mean, once you know you could run a party like that, you know, you have a good chance in government. Next thing you know, we put other people in government and we hear interim prime minister.
I mean, say the joke you make. Don't frighten the Grenadian public like that, man. That's fear in people's mind.
You know, the last prime minister we had before the one we had now was an interim prime minister. He was an interim prime minister.
Somebody put it that way to me. I mean, I don't know how they got to that. They say he was sitting in the seat of prime minister, but someone else was the prime minister. I mean, I don't know how they arrived at that.
But since we've mentioned that, though, there's been a ruling in the UK. In fact, it caused the British prime minister to have to abandon the UN and head back to England.
Yes.
There's been a ruling in relation to the prorogation of Parliament in the UK.
Yes.
And I see that as vindication of what was being said by the New National Party during the prorogation, which fell just about 3 or 4 days short of being totally illegal. Well, in the context of the words.
6 months,
But what has been said by the law lords now, Lady Hale and so on out there.
The same people that they said we should not let go for the Caribbean Court of Justice.
Yeah.
These are the people that say, stick with the Privy Council.
They said these people is the right people.
It's the right people. They know law.
Yeah.
So now let's hear the judgment, Sheldon.
Yeah, so the judgment has said that the prorogation of the British Parliament is wrong. You can't do that. The people's business has to be discussed. You can't close it.
Of course.
I am hoping to get a full copy. For the folks that not seeing me on camera, don't worry. I'm going to fix that in a timing. You're hearing us. That's the main thing. Yeah. It vindicates the New National Party because the NNP was saying, open the Parliament.
Yes.
Open the Parliament. Even you had, I remember former members of the NDC administration, Ali Gill and so on, saying, well, open the Parliament, Carl Hood, open the Parliament. And it was kept closed until they just dissolved Parliament at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So this judgment that has come out of England this week that caused Boris Johnson to have to jump a plane straight back to England where it is said that it is illegal to prorogue Parliament in such a manner and for such an extent.
But I thought, though, Boris Johnson was a much more clever guy. But it seems as though he wants to follow in the footsteps of certain other prime ministers who probably didn't even know what they were doing.
Well, either he maybe get some bad advice, whatever advice he had.
Wow.
It is bad. It is bad. It's creating a bit of a political crisis in the UK. He's already had a situation where he's operating basically as a minority government now.
Yeah.
Because they expelled. Well, you see another thing again. I feel Boris getting advice from a man in Grenada.
Maybe.
First he expelled, then he prorogued.
Which is exactly what happened here in Grenada. Couple of fellows got expelled.
And what happened after that?
Prorogation and then the solution of Parliament and then election and nobody could have won a seat because the people saw right through them. And Boris Johnson might just be heading down that same lane.
And he is actually saying that elections are on the horizon as well. So it does seem that he's following in the footprints of somebody here in Grenada. So he started with the expulsion, then he reached to the prorogation, which was illegal, and now he's heading down the road of possible election.
The solution and then election.
Yeah. But he's been having a problem because apparently in their system you have to get a certain number of votes in Parliament to call an early election. There has to be agreement by a certain percentage of the members of Parliament. And to get to that percentage, you must get the opposition forces to vote along with you for an election. And he hasn't been able to secure that to get an early election. So all direction he turns is just problems.
Problems, yep.
All direction he
I
turns.
tell you, sometimes they say, what's the saying again, boy? Heavy is the head that wears the crown. And so, boy, sometimes you see people struggling with their thing. So you had Theresa maybe, she was there doing her thing, and Boris felt, I need to challenge you. I can do it better than you. And, well, maybe he's doing better in his own way. You know?
But he didn't last very long before the trouble started, I mean.
Well, the trouble started instantly, in my opinion.
Yes.
To be honest, and I'll say this, though. I don't think his prime ministership can be judged yet. I think that after only a couple of weeks, he had a hell of a start. But it's left to see if he survives as prime minister after an election, after all of this. And remember, they're looking at Brexit as well.
Yes.
Exiting the European Union. It's left to see if he survives all this and then what he makes of his prime ministership.
But the same can
because
be said.
There is an effect for Grenada.
Of
It
course,
does affect
of
us.
course.
Some folks may say, well, speaking about British politics, but it does affect
us, of course.
us here in Grenada.
But the same can be said for Grenadian politics as well, because as Mr. Bola said, he believed that he could have done a better job than Theresa May, and he thought that he could take up the position and win the people's vote. But he got there and he realized that it looks easier from the outside, which is the same thing that's happening here. We have so much condemnation, so much criticism, so much they shoulds and they shoulds and they shouldn't haves. And then when you put them in the position to do the job, they realize that it's not as easy as just saying it. You know, it's the same issue that we're having here, which is why we are telling people, listen, as much as you are demanding from the government, demand from your opposition, because these are the people that are saying that we can go in and do a better job, but you need to tell us how you plan to do that.
But again, Minister Bola is right here, and he can testify that the New National Party in opposition was not just a party in opposition, but when the government did something, he said, look, you've done this, and we applaud you on that.
Yeah.
We may not agree in the manner you have done it. We may not agree with the timing in what you have done the right thing, but maybe you could have added that to it, or maybe you could have taken that out of it, or maybe you could have done it at this time instead of that time, and so on.
Yeah.
So it's not just, well, all you're doing that and all you're wrong. Not that approach. If the New National Party took that approach, Brother Bola, when yourself, Minister Cohen, Prime Minister, and Honorable Nimrod,
yes.
were on the opposition benches. If you all had taken the approach that the NDC took right now, there's no way the New National Party would have been in office?
Absolutely not. And I've made the point even on this program and several other programs that I've been on, radio programs, that as an opposition entity, as an opposition party, or even as a parliamentary opposition, if you happen to have a couple of seats or positions in parliament, you are not there simply to oppose. You need to propose as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you oppose and you dispose of what you believe isn't good, but you propose what's better.
Yeah.
And that's what we're not seeing. We're not hearing. Where is your... And, I mean, some of them brass and bullfish enough to say that what the government doing is the plans of the previous administration of the party. No. Here is where this thing just sounds so foolish to me. You are there on a platform condemning every single thing that the government is doing. Every achievement is not good enough. And in the next breath, your speech says, well, all of our plans and programs is what this government is using.
Yeah.
So are you telling us that your plans and program make absolutely no sense? Because if we're using your plans and program and you're saying we're not doing anything right and we're not achieving, so what you have as plans and program is pure foolishness?
Exactly.
That is what I take from it.
I heard the same statement too, and that's exactly the road, a line of thought I had. If you're saying that the government takes all your plans, these are all the plans that we had for the country, and then in the same breath you're saying that the government is doing nothing, then you have nothing.
Well, you see, that has always been. I think it seems impossible for the National Democratic Congress to be able to build anything. They have a problem building a party. They were born out of confusion. That's a fact. The NDC as an organization was born out of confusion.
So they were conceived in confusion.
They were conceived in confusion.
And then they born out of confusion.
And they continue to perceive and to receive confusion. They're just continuous confusion. And with all of that, it carries over into the attitudes and the behaviors of the hierarchy of that party. So that they can't say anything that will build the nation. They can't say anything that will even build their own party.
Yeah.
As it is right now, you're hearing about 5 different names calling for leader. Well, you know who go win. But we're hearing about 5 different names calling for leader within the party. 2 women, I'm hearing 2 men, 3 different men, and 2 women name calling. That's what you're hearing for them for the leader and so on. But as I said, leader of a failure is still a failure.
Of course.
So at the end of the day, whoever becomes the leader wouldn't make much of a difference of the organization because the confusion continues. The mere fact that you have so many people saying, well, we want that one, and a set of people saying, well, we want this one, and we want that one, and so on, shows that there is still factions within the organization.
Yeah.
Some people saying, bring back the last leader. Some people saying, well, we got to get the other one out of retirement who was prime minister. All these things you're hearing coming out from the National Democratic Congress is just confusion.
But how can you say you have an institution? You have a body of people that make up a party, because the party, I'm assuming, should have an executive, right? How could you have a body, an executive of people, and within that executive, you cannot have a common understanding as to who you would want to be? You have people from the outside pulling, you have people from this side pushing. I mean, it's ridiculous.
I hear a certain man go there and providing funding. I hear a certain man providing funding. I ain't calling name, but I hear a certain man providing funding.
But here's what, there's absolutely nothing wrong with having people outside of your executive bringing in some advice.
Yeah, that's good.
Or giving their views. Nothing is wrong with that. As a matter of fact, I believe it's healthy.
Right.
But the context in which it is given, the platform on which it is given, it must not be a small team. A team inside the team, meeting with some outsiders here for special advice.
You can have another cabinet outside the cabinet.
No. What it is that, okay, we have an issue. We may want external assistance. Fine with that. So you bring in whoever you think may be able to provide you with the assistance. You have a sit down, you listen, you have discussion, you may even have arguments. Absolutely. Because politics in and of itself has a feature of conflict in it. That's what
Mm-hmm.
politics is. We go argue, we go
adversarial.
disagree.
Yeah.
I sometimes refer to it as a contact sport. You know, you may get a hard knock here or there, but that's the game you're into. But eventually, we must be mature enough to decide, hey, we are into this thing not for our own egos and not only to promote ourselves, but for the betterment of the country and its people. So at some point in time, we have to compromise. We have to agree. Well, look, I wanted it this way, but hey, if majority says this is the way we go, let's see how we can adjust this thing and make it workable and all take responsibility. But I think, in my humble opinion, stand to be corrected, that there are too many sections. They are totally divided. Maybe it's good for us that they remain that way.
Not maybe, it's definitely good for us.
But I think the Grenadian people deserve a proper opposition.
They
and what
do.
exists right there is not even a proper party, much less a proper opposition. I think if Grenadians, as politics is adversarial, if you have a party that's opposing, you should have a party that's opposing that keeps the ruling party in check.
In check, yeah.
But does so in a reasonable manner. And you saw that during the period 2008 to 2013. You saw that the new National Party was able to espouse different and varying ideas to what was taking place at that point in time.
Of course.
Could you really say the group of... I mean, come on. I think the most unintellectual, the most inefficient, the most... I feel sorry for the chap, the present person who leads the NDC. I think he's just enjoying his last couple of weeks leading the NDC because he won't be in that position by this time next year. In fact, by December, he's gone. He will not be there. Even if he ends up as a candidate, that's a maybe. But he will definitely not be the leader of the NDC. I could tell you that from now, mark it down, the 26th of September, Sheldon say he ain't winning. I could tell you that.
Is he even contesting, by the way? Well,
I didn't hear his name in the running.
It's very strange because he did say that it's up for consideration because he is the present leader when I asked that question on GBN a few weeks ago. And he did throw some barbs at Kennedy Roberts, who also said that he's interested in being the leader of the party.
Yes. I heard him myself on a GBN program.
And you realize that Kennedy has suddenly disappeared since then. All of a sudden, he's no longer the PRO. He's no longer the voice of the NDC.
Yes.
Kennedy Roberts has basically been out in the wilderness since July or when. You haven't heard another word from him. He hasn't been sent to represent the party. He hasn't been sent to say anything. As soon as he say he's looking at leadership, that's it. They put a rope on him. They pull him back one time. Yeah. Put duct tape on him out. He can't talk.
They put him in storage.
Yeah. And so you've had that. And nothing is wrong with wanting to be leader of a party. Nothing is wrong with that. Everybody, in fact, I believe if you're in a political organization, you don't want to be at the top sooner rather than later. There's something wrong with you. You must have ambition.
Ambition is good.
Yes.
But the ambition must come with capability.
Yes.
Yep.
But I believe they can get a good leader, The problem is
You got to borrow one from us?
You put you take somebody good with great ideas, great potential, and you put them in an institution full of confusion. Then nothing that they do is gonna reap any benefit, right? Because there's always this confusion. There's always this fight for power. There's always this somebody wants to be in control, whether you're prime minister or not. There's always somebody that wants to be higher than the political leader, making the decisions on behalf of the party. And everybody want to air on GBN, everybody saying whatever it is they feel like saying, whether it is for the benefit of the party or not. Once you have this kind of thing, there could never be any real structure.
But Minister Bola, I don't know if you take the chance to listen sometimes when they're on different programs.
When I do get the chance, I listen. And I can't say it's often.
Yeah, but the problem there is that there's no central guiding thought behind anything that they say. It's like one in Mars, the next one in Venus, one in another planet somewhere, one on the moon. It's like there's no connecting thought, no connecting ideal, no connecting anything between what they say. It's just like attack NNP, attack Dr. Mitchell, attack the government. Anything they do, it's bad.
But also attack Sheldon. I don't forget.
Yeah, well,
yes, they
Sheldon
really-
ain't get-
they like you, eh? They like you.
I know they love me.
What I say to that point
In fact, you remember their whole campaign right now is we need to win the election to jail Sheldon.
Jail Sheldon Scott, yeah.
But they better look to jail the person who funding you all right now as well. Anyway.
But the
Behave
2008 election was won on the premise that they would jail Dr. Mitchell within 6
Yes.
months after.
Yeah.
You know? But anyway.
I remember walking with Dr. Mitchell in town the Christmas time, and they would be spreading rumors that, look, the police come to your house are ready to pick him up, and every Christmas you would hear that rumor coming around.
But he's
Like
out
the
there.
police.
The police could see him.
Yeah.
They
It's not like he hiding because he walking in town.
He couldn't go to the US again because the FBI want him. All sort of things.
Nonsense.
But you
Remember
know,
the
back
day before election, just a few days before election, they put out that too.
Yeah. But just to get back to the point you're making, that they're all about, they're scattered, they have no central theme, no central point, nothing sort of central to rally around that will bring hope. And it could well be because they lack direction and leadership. There's not a leader, so everyone is kind of searching out there.
Yeah.
What is it? What, you know, so no one, because who is there as the interim is probably just an interim, but not a leader, right? Maybe there is hope that whoever emerges when that time comes might be able to centralize things again and bring people back together. Maybe that hope is there. And getting back to an earlier point that you made, Sheldon, it would really be nice to have a forceful group or organization or a team of people who are purposeful, who understands what leadership is about, and who will keep the new National Party in check. Now, if I sit here and say that for every single decision that the new National Party make and every project that they undertook and every time they did something that they were 100% correct and on the ball, then I won't be a truthful Grenadian and human being. We have made mistakes, we have faltered in some ways, but it was all in our endeavors to bring to the Grenadian people the kind of progress and the kind of leadership that they want. We are always looking to do more. We are always looking for innovative ways and new ways. And sometimes, when not properly scrutinized or tested, you may have bumps in the road, in the way forward. Right? We accept that. However, though, I believe that if we have a kind of opposition that is purposeful, that are going to have a critical eye and going to point out, hey, we heard you say that, or this is a plan, but we have found that to be faulty in some way, we may have a second look. So I'm not begging any Grenadian to give up what you have. I'm not saying to you that you must not vote an NP and vote someone else, because by a long stretch, the NNP is leaps and bounds ahead of any other political organization that exists in Grenada. When it comes to leadership, when it comes to accountability, when it comes to control, when it comes to the provision of services for the people of Grenada. Perfect, we are not. We can do a lot more, we can do a lot better. But in comparison to every other political, and I'm not now just talking about NDC, I'm talking about every other or every other person. We are miles ahead. I'm saying we could even be better if we have a good, forceful organization that is going to keep us on our heels. So don't go vote for them and say we need our opposition in Parliament.
It must make sense.
It must make sense.
It must be a sensible group that understands what politics is about, what leadership of a country is about. But continue, please do. Because, like I heard some people say after the 2008 election, well, I just thought it was time to give them fellas a try. You don't make that mistake.
Not
with
on
your
those levels.
livelihood.
Yeah.
You don't make that mistake with your children's future.
People cry after.
You don't make that mistake with a country that you have going forward and is looking upward and has been progressing over the last so many years since 2013 election, has an average of over 4% growth annually in the economy, coming from a period when you had negative growth.
Yeah.
what negative growth means is that you was doing worse than zero. Because zero is the lowest you can go. And then you start up below, you're negative. You understand? Minus. So you pass zero and you're going down. That's what our economy was in reality. And today we have brought it to a positive. So even when the economists and so crunch the figures and they say the economy has grown by 3% or 4%, in actual sense, because we were so low past zero, we have grown by probably 9 or 10%, because we first had to come out from sub-zero to get to zero, and then to start
and
have
then
positive
to move
growth.
up. Yeah.
No, I mean, that's the reality
It is.
of what has happened. So I'm saying, in short, we have something good. It could get better. It should get better. We continue to work. We continue to meet. Government has been having their own sessions of retreats, and the cabinet has been having they closed those sessions trying to look at areas where they can do better and serve the Grenadian people better, because that's what they're there to do. Likewise, the party has been having its own internal, affairs of retreats and speaking on issues and getting people from diverse sections of the society to come and give the feel and to say, what they think should and what shouldn't, and so we are always preparing. We are evolving from within.
Yeah.
We are not sitting here and say, boy, we are the bosses. We have it all. No. We're humble and we're trying to make it better. So continue to support the new National Party.
I think it's a case that the new National Party is a political institution, and you have political institutions throughout the Caribbean. If you look at Trinidad, you have the People's National Movement, which is a political institution. It has been institutionalized. Here in Grenada, you have the New National Party. Jamaica, you have the People's National Party and the JLP. Both are the main parties. They are institutionalized. And throughout the Caribbean, you have some parties that are institutionalized and some that on the way to being institutionalized. Meanwhile, in Grenada, you have like the NDC who belong in an institution.
They should be going into an institution. Okay, I get the point.
But to a point you made, Mr. Bola, we are encouraging everybody to come out to the consultations and to hear what your minister has to say. But it's sad that we are still at a place where some people come to the consultations just to pick the negatives out of it, to write a story, something juicy, because the minister make this mistake and they say something wrong. And, it's sad that we are still at that place where we go and listen to a consultation just to hear the negatives, just to pick out whatever is wrong in what the minister would have said.
Last week, Thursday's consultation that took place at the GBSS, there was a lot of information there.
Yes.
But are you hearing the people who went to that consultation coming out and speaking about it? For instance, why is everybody so silent on oil and gas?
Exactly. That was one of the topics.
A presentation was made on oil and gas. In fact, excellent news for Grenada.
Of course.
That the bigger oil companies now
have
their
lobbying,
eyes set on Grenada now and are making contact with the Grenadian government as in, we want to come and drill.
Of course.
We want to come. When you hear British Petroleum and these bigger companies like Shell and so on, they are now saying, okay, well, the small company that came in, they come and they drill and they strike oil. They're doing a second well. Right, they're doing a second well and they're testing what they have from the first one. Well, if that taking place, we want a bite in the pie too.
Exactly.
So they now want to come into Grenada. It's not a case that the government of Grenada have the money and we could say, well, okay, bring in a 2 oil rig and drill. We find out we have here. And then you tell BP and them will come in. They're going to come in with their own resources and go and do the drilling and so on.
Yeah.
And then government gets a percentage of the income. Once they strike oil, government gets a percentage.
Yes.
And all of this was explained.
Yeah.
But you don't have people talking about it.
And we can't go with the argument that, it's only NNP people that were there, because I was there and I am almost 100% certain, Sheldon, that I saw people who do not support the New National Party sitting at that forum, listening and taking notes. But nothing that they could bring out negative came from it, so you heard nothing about it.
But you see, now the facts are coming out clearly and openly, and not by a government minister, not by the NNP, but by the experts who are working in the field, by the people who have the responsibility.
Yeah.
Because once the way in which the information came out gave an impression to the Grenadian public that this whole oil drilling and the testing of wells and, all of those things, the exploration process was something controlled by Kit Mitchell and Gregory Bolden. It was silent, it was secret, nobody knows, we don't know what's happening. Tell us what happened with the oil. It's like they were quietly going out there in the night with a little boat and maybe filling up drums or filling up their pocket or like in the days of the pirates, meeting a ship outside there and selling and collecting dollars.
But they've actually said that, They've actually said
No,
that the oil selling are... They
I don't
said,
believe you, Sheldon.
I have heard and have on tape members of the NDC saying that the oil selling already. That oil done drill and it done pumping already and selling out there.
Well, I was just giving my own impression of what they're trying to create by what they were saying. Now, facts are there now because you had to wait. You couldn't go and excite people. You couldn't go and say things that you hope to happen because these things are very tricky. One, you could have noticed from the seismic research and the photos and things that there were oil or there were petroleum deposits there. But you needed to actually go physically and get into it, tap into it to know, one, whether what you have is of a commercial nature.
Yes.
Because it costs a lot of millions to go and set up a rig out there in the ocean. It costs a lot of millions to bring in the equipment and to start drilling it. So if you found out from your testing that yes, we have, but what you have, by the time you drill it and refine it and so, it probably might just be able to cover the cost of setting up the oil rig. What's the purpose?
What's the purpose?
Right?
Correct.
The second thing is that you may have sufficient that is considered to be of a commercial nature, but the quality. It is said that Guyana right there, has some of the larger deposits of oil out there. But the level of sulfur and other impurities that's in it, it's going to cost so much to clean it up and refine it that it is better to just leave it where it is. So you need to also test. That's why the testing is going on. And as far as I've heard, it's in an institute in Texas known as the Blackwater Institute. And so first you drill, you recognize that you have sufficient that could make it commercial and profitable to do because the company that is going to put out all of the money up front, they must make their money back. Then the government must get its share, whether it's 30 or 40%, whatever it has to get. The company has to make a profit. Who is going to come and put in their money and spend their money and do all the work and say, well, okay, I spend 10 million, I get back my 10 million now, so let me go.
Exactly.
No, that doesn't
you
make
spend
sense.
your 10 million
a profit
to make
of
more,
course.
whatever more.
It has to be economically viable.
Economically
because,
viable.
for instance, there are places that they found oil and large quantities of it, enough that they could think, but they leave it. They don't bother with it. And the reason is because of the high sulfur content, the amount of money it's going to cost to refine it, it doesn't make economic sense. So they find it and they say, well, look, this doesn't make sense. Let's leave that.
Like I just explained, they said in Guyana, there's a lot of deposits. And Guyana is sitting very close to Venezuela, who also has a lot of oil. But they said a lot of the oil that they're finding in Guyana, I mean, to purify it and to refine it, to bring it to the level where it can be usable, is going to cost so much that you just leave it alone. It doesn't
it's
make
not
much
economically sensible.
So all of these things must first be established. So the government had to wait patiently, itching us, but you had to wait so that when you bring information, you're bringing information that gives hope.
Yes.
Now the information is coming. All the accusers, they hush them out. Pirate boat stop, go outside and buy now. Mitchell and Bowen ain't selling again.
And not only
because
that.
the facts coming out.
And not only that.
I mean, wonder if I've even seen a news story
on
what Minister Bowen's. I don't think I even saw a news story on that. And
what is funny is that we elect a government to make decisions on our behalf for our benefit, for the best. We need to start trusting that they are doing the right thing. I know there was a big scandal about the contract and the contents and what was offered and the big secret and so on. And as the minister rightfully said, it would not be in their place to say to the general public, this is what we have offered to whoever it is that is doing the drilling so that they can drill, right? In anywhere in the world, that you go, where there's oil business is a big business. There is this, it's like a secret society. It's a hush-hush because you don't want this person to know, well, these are the benefits that I got. So, because you're going to want those benefits too, you know? So this is why the level of confidentiality, I believe, that we have is what also would have attracted those bigger companies now to us to say, okay, well, we want to do business with you, right? Because you've shown this level of confidentiality, even under pressure, you know? And we need to learn to trust the people that we've put in office. Grill them, try to find out what's going on, but we also need to understand that some things are just confidential and we must leave it alone.
You know, I'm a firm believer in dissenting voices. I'm a firm believer in getting different perspectives, because sometimes people may be saying something and how they're saying it, it turns you off, how they're saying it. But if you listen carefully to it, you realize, yeah, they're right, you know.
Yeah.
And you don't just decide, well, I'm not listening because it's that person talking and I don't like him.
Yeah.
Because that person may be telling you something to save your life.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe in dissenting voices, but these dissenting voices must make sense.
Must make sense.
You must be saying things that we can all use. I mean, it's an unfortunate statement, and you referred to it earlier, Minister, when you spoke about the NDC saying, well, look, we're just implementing NDC programs. That is one of the dumbest statements I think that some of the activists can make. Because the simple thing is this: if it is good for Grenada, you should be glad to see it happening.
Absolutely.
So you mean don't do anything that is good for Grenada if the NDC spoke about doing it. Don't do it. Just leave that alone. So don't fix roads. Don't do the house. Don't do anything if the NDC had spoken about it, or it was in a manifesto of the NDC, even if that was 20 years ago. Don't do it because it's an idea of the NDC. We thought about it. We were going to do it. We were going to. I mean, it's just unfortunate.
But Sheldon, what's funny is that they've spent weeks and months condemning all of the programs that this administration has done. Oh, they never do nothing good. Oh, they've done it wrong. Oh, it's corruption, it's corruption, it's corruption. So are you trying to say that the entire NDC manifesto is full of plans of corruption? Is that what we're trying to say? Because they're saying that we are stealing their ideas, right? So if that is the case, then it means that they have a manifesto full of corruption.
But it is untrue. And anyone that is politically involved and has taken the time over the past, let's say, 4 election cycles to go through the manifestos as far back as, let's say, 2003. Let's start at the 2003, 2008, 2013, and 2018 election manifestos of the New National Party. You will see exactly what is taking place now, being mentioned. Even in 2003, certain aspects were being put in place and have now been executed. So they're going on with what was started back then. Even when it comes to the youth program and what was said back in the 2003 election manifesto and how that was being rolled out. You had the period between 2008 and 2013 when that was destroyed, but coming back into office in 2013. And you look at the New National Party still being the only party ever to put out specifically a youth manifesto.
Yeah.
No other political party has attempted it. And not once, but twice. An electronic version, the electronic version was in 2013, and a full version in the 2008 election campaign.
Yeah.
And you're seeing the rollout of that. You're hearing about youth in enterprise. You're hearing about youth training programs and so on.
And Sheldon, let me just say,
you've been seeing the rollout.
For the persons who don't have a manifesto, because your manifesto is your guide. It's what you hold the administration accountable for. These are the things that they would have promised to you during the campaign. It's all documented. It's written. It's like a contract, basically, right? If you don't have a copy, whether you're NNP or you're NDC, we have lots of copies here. Feel free.
Not
lots, but
we
enough.
Have a few copies. We can devote some.
Just come and collect a copy so that at least you know these are the things that we would have said that we've done. These are the things that we've already done, and these are the things that are still left to be done. You know, so you have a guide to work by. Like I said, I told Sheldon the other day, Vincent Roberts, was it Vincent Roberts? No. Philip, what is his name?
Philip Alexander.
Philip Alexander.
Yeah, I have a problem remembering the name.
He was on Brenda's program the other day trying to promote the NDC and trying to promote their manifesto. And I called and I asked him, well, you guys have so many plans. You have a manifesto. You said your manifesto has not changed since 2008. I don't know how that's possible because the one you had in 2008 didn't work for you, yet you still plan to use the same thing. I don't understand how that works. But you have a manifesto that you are going by.
It didn't work in 2013.
It didn't work in 2013 either.
It didn't work in 2018 and they still have
They still have the same manifesto.
So the 2008 election manifesto of the National Democratic Congress was a copy of the DLP manifesto out of Barbados, word for word. In fact, it had one or two of the same pictures out of it. It was the manifesto that was just taken from the Democratic Labour Party in Barbados and used over here.
Yeah.
So it was the same thing.
They say they're using the same manifesto. Those were his words exactly. So I called the program and I asked the gentleman, I said, well, tell me 3 things that you plan to do for the country. The man tell me how he had 333 things. I still didn't get the 3 and I didn't see the 333.
Because you wanted 3 and he has 333. So you're wasting time to give 333. Here, he's only 301. There one.
You asked for 2 a little bit.
I should have asked him for the full 333.
It also goes to show, though, that there's no thought and no intellect in an organization. If you think that you're going to use a manifesto that you created 5 years ago, that you're going to use that manifesto 5 years later because things develop, things change.
And the country is advancing.
2003, what you could have in a manifesto in 2003 in relation to information communication technology is totally different. They weren't talking about Wi-Fi and all this thing to the level that they're speaking about it now.
Exactly.
They weren't speaking about things as 5G and LTE networks and all of that. The average person in 2003, if you were lucky enough to be one of the few people that had a mobile phone, did not have a camera. It didn't have a camera. It didn't have things like video calling and all this sort of thing where you could be. So what your manifesto said about ICT back then would be totally different. And what your manifesto says about information communication technology right now will be totally changed in 5 years from, in fact, next year.
Yeah.
Next year, these things change in agriculture, in healthcare. There are different things that people become aware of on a yearly basis, nearly on a daily basis.
What about?
So you can never say you're going and use your whole manifesto.
Of course not. What about our pensioners, those that are expected to receive their 70%? What about those people? Are we going to now regress and say that, well, that was not in our manifesto, so we're not touching that? Is that what we're going to do now?
Well, anyway, for the both of you, for your information, all you really have me talking about people something that really ain't making no sense at the end of the day. I mean, it's good to give the information to the public and to let them know who they're dealing with and what group that they're really dealing with. But the main purpose I came here was to drop some information, to drop a slip of paper, and I was calling on radio. So please, we are letting everybody know again, our convention is called Sunday, 27th October, McDonald's College in St. Patrick. We start about 9:30 thereabout with the morning session, and then there'll be an afternoon session, kind of open, but not a major rally. Buses and so are provided from the constituencies, so check with your parliamentary rep or with the team that he may have, your constituency chairperson or so, or you can always call our central office where we can direct you to who you want to speak to.
Give them the number, please.
440-1875 or 1876.
Yeah.
Or if you're using a mobile, you can dial 405-1875.
That's right.
Please contact us. There's some lovely ladies with beautiful voices that will answer you and give you the directions that you need. So thank you for allowing me to be on air for a little while.
Don't run in. Don't run in. I have a question. It's only 4 more minutes to the program over, so I don't know where you're running to go. My question is, the morning session from 9:30, that's a closed session.
That's a closed session,
right.
yes.
So we're encouraging persons to come out in the afternoon more to...
well, that's the observers. So, you know,
The
people
observers.
want alignment, so, but all your delegates and some observers.
Will be there in the morning.
Session.
And this open session in the afternoon, I know it's usually packed with information because you
That's
have all 15 representatives plus other persons from different I don't want to say sectors because it's not really sectors, but people who are versed on certain things that are happening within the country that are coming, they're coming and give information.
Yes.
So we're encouraging supporters in general, not just those carded as observers, but supporters in general to come out
Anyone.
at that
If you're
time.
not a supporter of the NNP, you can
You're
come to
welcome,
the
of course,
afternoon session right there in McDonald's College, where you can get information.
Right.
And the information is not just about who to vote for. There's so much information. At our last session at the Boca Secondary, we were able to get the NIS to come and make a presentation, you know, which they themselves said for them it was one of the better presentations because they had a packed audience hungry for information waiting on them, so they were able to sell the information out. And we encouraged them right there and then that they probably should contact the other political organizations that you have and invite them. I tell them, look, we'd like to come when you have a session, but that has not been done so far because no other political organization has had any major activity like the NNP since. So I cannot say now whether it will be NIS or who, but with the many things that are happening, we'd have people come in and make presentations, giving information to the people, so everyone is invited.
And I know most
session.
people would say that, well, the NIS is a statutory body, it's government, so why are they involved in a party?
No, they're not involved in
No.
party.
Why would they come on a political forum and speak? And my answer to that would simply be, it's for the people, everybody. They should try and get to go to NDC's convention as well. Yes, and try to give their people as well. And if anybody from the NDC is listening, this is a suggestion. The only suggestion that you'll ever get from me is to invite the NIS. Let them come and speak to your people on the benefits of the NIS and why it is important for this increase and so on, so that they have the information. Because you're not just there to oppose, but you're also there to ensure that the people who support your party are also informed. They may not come to a session that the NNP has, so you have to find a way to get the information to them.
They should come to sessions that the NNP have.
They should.
Because that's where they will get information.
That's where they will get
truthful, authentic information. Not make up things about lies and thing, and when people talking about only NNP children getting scholarship, when they know themselves that they have been receiving assistance, not just from government, but even from their own parliamentary representative.
Yeah.
So, I mean, come when you can get truthful information. We are not going to come because you're going to vote NNP, but come and get good
information. Yes.
Yeah?
Yes, indeed, folks. And folks, that's all the time we're going to allow Minister Bola to leave now. Folks, that's all the time we have for Hard Talk. But just before we leave, for those of you, the alumni of the Wester Hall Secondary School, remember you have that meeting today. It's going to be taking place at 5 p.m. at the Wester Hall Secondary School. Remember, the reunion event is coming up on the 30th of November. They're asking for donations of $50 from each of you, the past students of the Wester Hall Secondary School. You can contact Beavis, Adona, or Sheldon. Yeah, not the Sheldon. I never went to Wester Hall Secondary. I went there, but didn't go to school there. I mean, I passed there as in I went, you know. A guy asked me if I ever go to university. I say several. Yeah, man. I went there. Yeah, Rice University, UWI Mona campus, UWI Trinidad campus. I went to several universities, but I just passed.
You passed.
So, folks, that's all the time we have for Hard Talk today. And whatever you say and do it safe and secure. We want to be speaking to and with you.
And not about you.
We are out of here.
Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new national party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.
Eleven men honored for heroic acts that saved the lives of passengers after minibus plunges into the sea. Details to this story and more in the National Report. With the details to the news for Wednesday, September 25th, I am Leslie Ann Johnson. 11 Grenadians were honored on Wednesday for their heroic acts that saved the lives of a number of people on board a minibus that plunged into the waters of the Carriacou on Friday. A recognition ceremony was held at police headquarters for Jeffrey Irvin, Adriel Pursu, Noel Bethel, Akim Philip, Teron Hazel, Jake Edmund, Frederick Braffett, Police Constables Joel Hosford, Harris Collier, Matthew Felix and Kevin Wickham, who were presented with certificates of appreciation and a Royal Grenada Police Force plaque. They were also presented with tokens of appreciation by Digicel Grenada and Sol Grenada EC Limited. 3 of the divers and 1 police officer were also further recognized by an anonymous citizen. They were commended by Acting Police Commissioner Edwin Martin for their prompt response.
Rescuing several persons from a trapped bus underwater is no easy feat. Faced with what would have appeared to be a hopeless situation, extreme panic and anxiety would have been the prevailing emotions among the trapped individuals. This no doubt would have exacerbated the rescue effort and attempts. Rescuing individuals under those circumstances is nothing short of a miraculous accomplishment, directly attributed to your quick, decisive, and selfless action. Hence today, we, the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, embrace you as our real-life heroes.
He added that the individual and collective actions of the men saved the nation from a tragedy of a much greater magnitude.
It is a reminder, too, for the licensing authority to rethink the systems that are in place and, where appropriate, recommend legislative changes with a view of enhancing public safety on our nation's roads. In any democratic society, the primary role of the police is to protect life and property. More importantly, your selfless acts, as demonstrated on September 20th, illustrates that you are acutely aware of the need to be your brother's keeper.
CEO of Digicel Grenada, Shrivon Redhead, presented the men with a package that included a cellular phone and other items. She used the opportunity to remind them that it's not the gift that is important, but the selfless act performed that resulted in so many lives being saved.
You're your brother's keeper. And it's funny to see the reaction of persons when they're like, oh my God, they were so selfless. There was no hesitation. Like, we counted the seconds down when we looked at the video. It was a matter of 3 seconds, somebody was already in the water. And I would like to think this is what true Grenadian represents. This is what we should be representing across the nation in terms of helping each other. And I was so pleased to see that we were selfless and we were courageous and we were heroic, and we did collaborate, not just civilian to the left and officers to the right, but we worked together.
The men also received a monetary reward from Sol EC Limited. The presentation was made by manager Colin Francis. He said their selfless act will be on the minds of every Grenadian for a very long time.
You did not do it to be honored. You did not do it knowing what's coming next. You did it because it was your first human instinct. And I hope your courageous and brave acts is an example for many other people, not just in Grenada, but throughout the region. I trust and hope that we've taken the example that you've set, and it's sparked some measure of hope that all is not lost. Sometimes when we read the news and we think that all is lost, there's still people right in our own backyards, our own neighbors, who have what it takes to display the kind of humanity that we expect.
Prime Minister Dr. The Right Honourable Keith Mitchell and his CARICOM colleagues met on Wednesday with the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi. The India CARICOM leaders meeting, held on the fringes of the United Nations General Assembly, is intended to strengthen relations between CARICOM countries and India. There are several key announcements coming out of the meeting, with India promising substantial support for regional countries. We will bring you those details on Thursday. Grenada and its CARICOM neighbors have long had excellent bilateral relations with India, but the aim now is to improve relations at the multilateral level. This is the National Report. More news after the break.
Grenada, it's coming as the Ministry of Youth, Development, Sports, Culture and the Arts brings to you National Youth Week 2019, and it's one full week of activities, vibes and action as the nation turns their attention on the nation's youth. And it's from Saturday, October 19 till Saturday, November 2nd under the theme Embracing Opportunities, Sowing Higher. October 19th and 20th, National Community Service Weekend, island-wide. October 26th, Health Walk and Minister's Address. October 27th, Ecumenical Service and Peace Concerts. October 28th, Youth Vibe. October 29th, St. John's Youth Parliament. October 30th, Job Fair and Career Day. October 31st, Fun Nights. November 1st, Discovering Talents and Expo. And on November 2nd, it's National Youth Awards. So urging everyone to be a part of Youth Week 2019, October 19th to November 2nd.
Continuing the news, Health Minister Nicholas Steele says training is on the cards for the young Grenadians who worked with a team from the USNS Comfort to repair the oxygen plant at the General Hospital in St. George's. The plant is functioning once again after the joint teams worked to fix one compressor. While another compressor is still down, the hospital can generate oxygen at the moment. Minister Steele says it costs anywhere from $30,000 to $40,000 EC dollars per month to purchase oxygen from Trinidad if the local plant is not being utilized. The training is essential as the ministry seeks to ensure the health and well-being of patients.
Individuals have been identified to do the medical engineering side of not just the oxygen plant, but we've got numerous bits of equipment and so throughout the general hospital and healthcare facilities that we need to identify the individuals. Some of these individuals have been Amanis that have stepped up now and are performing yeoman service there. We're fortunate enough to have been working side by side with engineers, not just the U.S. engineers that have that visited last week, but the various engineers that come in to the general hospital and our healthcare facilities on the various maintenance visits and so. So yes, that is most important. Most important to have that. Those individuals have been identified, and it's just right now we need to up the game and send some away for training. While we have here who have been trained, we have two that have been trained as well, but it's a constant journey that we have to take.
Agriculture and tourism stakeholders are urged to brainstorm the best way possible to implement projects geared at improving the link between those sectors for the economic benefit of the country. We have details in this report by Karima Lewis, the Public Relations Officer in the Ministry of Agriculture.
An agritourism policy setting workshop held at the Radisson Grenada Beach Resort recently set the stage for the implementation of projects geared towards the linkage of the tourism and agriculture sectors. The workshop was fully funded by the Technical Center for Agricultural and Rural Cooperation, CTA, and this organization will further contract a consultant to write proposals for the proper implementation of the project or projects geared toward the linking of those sectors. However, before all of this is done, the policy must first be developed. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture and Lands, Mr. Elvis Moraine, implores on the stakeholders to be gatekeepers of the policy.
We all know is that if we are going to go forward with a proper policy formation and policy direction, then of course, as we say colloquially, we'll be hitting and miss. And of course, we can't afford to waste resources, whether it's time, human, and of course financial in this regard. You have to ensure that this policy doesn't remain another beautiful document sitting on some shelf somewhere. All right? We have to put this to work.
The Inter-American Institute for Cooperation and Agriculture Hemispheric Agritourism Specialist Anna Harvey explains to the participants why it is so important to come up with a focus for project implementation in Grenada.
These proposals are to be submitted for consideration for funding in this big basket. If we don't use the money, we will lose it.
She questioned the focus that Grenada will be taking in the linking of agriculture to tourism.
What is Grenada going to focus on? It could be one big project with 3 modules, it could be 3 projects, but what is Grenada going to focus on in linking agriculture with tourism? Is it farm tourism? Is it culinary? Is it heritage? Is it wellness? Is it the policy itself? And how are you going to do that? Now, Steve is going to be working on preparing that proposal with a key number of stakeholders here in the room so that you write a good proposal for Grenada and it lands on the ground.
For the Ministry of Agriculture, I am Karima Lois.
And that's the National Report. I'm Leslie Ann Johnson.